Ever heard of a woman running a prison block? Yeah, that was me. But power behind bars isn't about being the toughest, it's about being the smartest and knowing exactly when to strike. I ran Blackridge for a year, until the same people who made me boss decided to take me down. Stick around, because what happened next changed everything. And hey, hit that subscribe button if you want more real prison stories that don't sugarcoat what it's like behind those walls. The first thing I learned inside was this: respect doesn't come free. You either earn it with blood, or you take it by force. The day they slammed that cell door behind me, I swore I'd never be anyone's victim again. The metal echoed like a gunshot, and the air smelled like disinfectant and sweat, that sour mix that never really leaves your clothes. I remember standing there, hands still shaking from court, staring at the dull gray bars, thinking, so this is it. They called me Riley Vega, 32 years old. Convicted for aggravated assault and possession with intent. First-time offender, but the prosecutor made me sound like I was running a cartel. Truth is, I just picked the wrong guy to love. He set me up, disappeared, and left me holding the evidence. By the time I realized I was the fall girl, I was already in cuffs. I got shipped to Millstone Correctional for women, maximum security, located somewhere you could smell the rain before you saw the sky. The walls were painted beige, but everything about that place felt gray: the floors, the food, the people. The guards had that dead look in their eyes. You could tell they'd seen too much. The inmates were worse, broken women with razor eyes, watching everything you did. The first week, I barely spoke. I kept my head down, learned the routine. Wake up at 5:30 to the buzz of the lights. Line up. Eat your oatmeal, if you can stomach it. Keep your mouth shut. Watch your back. But you can't stay invisible for long in a place like that. Someone always notices. It was Tasha who first approached me, tall, lean, skin like burnished bronze, with eyes that could slice through metal. She ran the South Block, where I was assigned. Everyone called her Queen T. She controlled the contraband, the trades, the favors. Cigarettes, painkillers, cell phones, everything funneled through her. New girl, she said on my second week, leaning against my bunk. You got quiet eyes. That can be a good thing, or dangerous. I didn't answer. She smirked. You'll learn. Everyone belongs to someone in here. Best figure out where you stand before someone decides for you. That was her way of offering protection, or a threat. Maybe both. Over the next few weeks, I watched her carefully. She had power, but it wasn't loud. She ruled through favors and silence. One nod from her could get a girl beaten. Another could get you an extra tray of food. I wasn't looking for power, but I was good at reading people. It's what kept me alive before prison, and what would keep me alive inside. Tasha noticed. One day in the laundry room, she tossed me a folded sheet. You're smart, she said. You see things. You want in? What's in? I asked. She smiled. Information. That's how it started, small. I'd overhear guards talking about inspection days, or which unit was getting searched. I'd pass that info to her. She'd reward me, sometimes with protection, sometimes with favors. Word spread fast, Riley's got ears. But the more people came to me, the more I realized something: information was more valuable than cigarettes, more valuable than drugs. It was power. And I was good at it. Too good. 3 months in, things started to shift. Tasha's closest girl, Nina, got caught with a burner phone during a surprise sweep. Everyone knew she'd snitched to get out of solitary. Tasha's empire started to crack, one whisper at a time. I didn't plan to take her spot. Not at first. But prison doesn't care about intentions, only opportunity. One night during dinner, a fight broke out in the cafeteria. Two girls from rival crews went at each other with sharpened toothbrushes. While the guards rushed in, someone slipped me a note under my tray. It said, "You could run this place better than she ever did." No signature. But I didn't need one. I kept the note, folded it twice, and hid it in my bra. Later that night, I heard Tasha's cell door open during the night count. She didn't come back. Word spread fast, transferred to medical. Rumor was someone laced her food with cleaning powder. By morning, South Block needed a new queen. And somehow, everyone's eyes turned to me. At first, I tried to refuse. I told them I didn't want the throne. But that's the thing about power, it doesn't always ask what you want. By the end of that week, girls were lining up at my bunk, asking for favors, trading gossip, paying taxes and commissary snacks. I played it cool, but inside, I was terrified. Running a block meant one thing: you had enemies everywhere. Guards, snitches, rival cliques. Even your own people could turn if you weren't careful. Still, I learned fast. I watched every move, kept track of who owed what, who hated who. I built my little empire out of whispers and deals. There was a saying in Millstone, "You can't survive alone." And that was true, but I didn't just want to survive anymore. I wanted control. The first real test came 2 months later. A girl named Lena, from North Block, started moving contraband through my runners. I told her to stop. She laughed in my face. So I made an example. During yard time, I called her over. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it'd break my ribs. I told her calmly, "You touch my line again, you'll regret it." She smiled, showing me her gold tooth. "You think you're Tasha now?" I didn't answer, just nodded to Joe, one of my girls. Joe broke Lena's nose in front of everyone. After that, no one laughed again. Respect came with fear, but it came fast. I started to see myself differently. Not as a victim, not as the woman who got framed, but as someone who could lead. At night, when the lights went out, I'd lie awake and listen to the hum of the vents, the occasional scream from solitary, the footsteps of guards. The walls felt alive, breathing, whispering, waiting. But power changes you. It isolates you. The same girls who smiled at me during the day wouldn't meet my eyes at night. I caught whispers about how Tasha's ghost was watching. Some said she wasn't poisoned, that she was coming back. And then, one morning, I found something on my bunk, a folded sheet. Same handwriting as the first note. "You didn't earn this. You just filled a hole." No one admitted to putting it there. That night, someone tried to start a fire in my cell. I survived, barely. The guards dragged me out, coughing from smoke, hair singed, palms blistered. But as I sat on the cold floor of solitary, wrapped in a gray blanket, I realized something: power in here wasn't about strength. It was about fear. Who feared you more, your enemies or yourself? And right then, I made a decision. If I was going to be the boss of South Block, I'd be the kind no one dared to cross again. Even if it meant burning every bridge I had left. They let me out of solitary after 7 days. 7 days of silence, except for the hum of the vent and the sound of my own heartbeat. When the cell door finally buzzed open, I stepped back into South Block like I was walking into enemy territory. The lights flickered overhead, yellow and tired. The hallway smelled like bleach and fried grease from the kitchen. Every face I passed looked at me too long, too curious. You can always tell when someone's planning something in prison, it's in the silence. The kind that sticks to the walls like humidity. The rumor was, I set the fire myself for attention. Some said it was a setup by the guards. But I knew better. Whoever did it wanted to remind me that the Queen of South Block wasn't untouchable. So I did what I always did when I was scared. I pretended I wasn't. My bunk was exactly how I'd left it, except for a small crack in the metal frame that hadn't been there before. I ran my hand over it and found a folded piece of paper wedged inside. "Everyone bleeds, Vega." No signature. Same handwriting as before. I sat down, staring at it until the lights dimmed for lockdown. My hands were steady now. I wasn't the same girl who came into Millstone 5 months ago shaking from fear. If someone wanted a war, I'd give them one. The next morning, I called a meeting in the rec yard, nothing official, just a group of women sitting on the far bench near the broken basketball hoop. That's where deals were made, debts settled, alliances born and buried. Joe was there, of course, my enforcer, my muscle. Then there was Amber, the quiet one who worked kitchen duty, always listening, never speaking. And Casey, my runner, fast and fearless but impulsive as hell. They looked at me like soldiers waiting for orders. I took a breath. "We've got a problem," I said. "Someone thinks they can play games with me." That fire wasn't random. Amber glanced around nervously. "You think it was one of ours?" "I don't think," I said. "I know." That made them all go still. You have to understand something. In Millstone, loyalty isn't love. It's a transaction. It lasts only as long as it benefits both sides. "I want eyes everywhere," I continued. Laundry room. Showers. Kitchen. Someone's feeding information to North Block again. I want it stopped. Joe cracked her knuckles. "You want it handled quiet or loud?" "Quiet," I said. "For now." For the next week, I watched. Every movement. Every conversation. I noticed Amber disappearing during shift changes, whispering with someone near the nurse's station. I noticed Casey coming back from visits with new shoes and fresh lipstick, even though no one on the outside sent her money. Joe told me I was paranoid. Maybe I was. But paranoia is what keeps you alive in a place where trust gets you killed. Then one night, everything blew up. We were lining up for count when the alarms went off, that sharp, metallic wail that makes your blood freeze. Guards started shouting, running toward the east corridor. I saw smoke pouring from the laundry room. Everyone panicked. Some screamed. Some ran. And in the chaos, I saw Amber slip something from her jumpsuit pocket and toss it into a trash bin. That's when I knew. They locked the block down for 2 days while they investigated. When they finally released us, I waited until lights out, then went straight to Amber's cell. She was half asleep when I walked in. "You been busy," I said quietly. She sat up fast. "Riley, I didn't." I grabbed her collar and pushed her against the wall. "Don't lie to me. You've been playing both sides." Her eyes darted toward the door. "Please," she whispered. "They made me." "Who?" "Tasha." I froze. "She's not dead," Amber said, voice shaking. "She's in medical, waiting for release. She still runs things. I swear, she made me do it." I stepped back. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. If that was true, if Tasha was still alive, then everything I'd built was a house of cards. Amber started crying. She said if I didn't burn your cell, she'd have her people outside hurt my sister. I didn't have a choice. I believed her. I didn't want to, but I did. Who else knows? I asked. No one. "Please, Riley, I'm sorry." "Pack your things," I said. "You're moving to my cell." She looked confused. "Why?" "Because if Tasha's still running this place for medical, I need to know everything she's planning." Over the next few days, Amber talked. At first just fragments, names, places, deals. Then more. She told me how Tasha paid off one of the nurses to smuggle her pills, how she communicated with the North Block leader through coded commissary slips. And most importantly, she told me that Tasha planned to come back. She wants her throne, Amber said one night, voice low. She said she'll burn down the block to take it. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. The hum of the lights sounded like static. I'd spent months clawing my way up, bleeding for control of South Block. And now the woman I replaced was about to walk back in like nothing happened. Not if I could stop it. 2 weeks later, word spread, Tasha was being transferred back to general population. The whole block buzzed like a storm was coming. Everyone whispered about who'd side with who. You could feel the tension crackling through the air. That night, Joe came to me. You gonna let her take it back? I smiled. She can try. When Tasha walked through those doors again, it was like the air left the room. She looked thinner but meaner, the kind of thin that comes from rage. Her eyes found mine instantly. She didn't say a word, just smirked. The guards assigned her a bunk 2 rows down from mine. Of course they did. Millstone loved watching women tear each other apart. That night, she came to me in the rec area. Nice setup you've got, she said, nodding toward my crew. You did good keeping my seat warm. It's not your seat anymore, I said. She tilted her head, amused. We'll see. Over the next few days, she started picking at the cracks. Whispering to old allies, handing out favors. Within a week, half the girls who swore loyalty to me were suddenly neutral. I couldn't move without hearing my name. Couldn't trust anyone except Joe, and even she was getting nervous. This can't go on, she told me one night. One of you's gonna end up dead. I know, I said quietly. That's the point. We met in the showers, late at night, when the cameras couldn't see through the steam. Just the 2 of us. She was waiting, leaning against the wall like she owned it. You really think you can win this? She asked. I already did, I said. You're just too proud to admit it. She laughed, low and cold. You think you're different, Riley? You think you're smarter? You'll rot here like the rest of us. Maybe, I said. But at least I'll do it on my terms. And then she lunged. It wasn't dramatic, no screaming, no brawling. Just fast, brutal survival. The sound of skin against style, the metallic echo of her head hitting the wall. When it was over, she was on the floor, breathing hard, blood mixing with the water at our feet. I didn't kill her. But I made sure she'd never challenge me again. As I walked away, I heard her whisper, "This place will eat you too." By morning, the guards found her. Broken nose, cracked rib, internal bleeding. They shipped her back to medical. No one said a word. They say once you taste control in prison, you can't live without it. They're right. It had been 6 months since Tasha's second fall, and South Block had never been quieter. The guards called it peace. I called it silence before the next storm. Every deal went through me: cigarettes, pills, phone time, protection. Joe handled muscle, Casey ran errands, and Amber still carried that guilt in her eyes every time she looked at me. She didn't know I noticed. But I always did. The thing about being the boss? You can't ever stop noticing. Not who's whispering. Not who's trading glances. Not who's smiling when you walk away. You learn to see betrayal before it breathes. The air in Millstone smelled different now, heavier, stale with bleach and sweat. They'd cut the heating again, said the system was broken. Half the cells were freezing. You could see your breath in the mornings. Joe started coughing blood one night. She brushed it off like it was nothing, but I saw the tremor in her hands when she lit her cigarette. I told her to see medical. She laughed. You think they care if we rot? That laugh stuck with me. It was too tired, too final. Then, 2 weeks later, everything changed. A new batch of inmates arrived, transfers from another facility after a riot. Among them was a woman named Laura. Tall, pale, buzz-cut, eyes like ice water. She didn't talk much, but the way she carried herself made people move. There was something about her, the kind of stillness you only see in people who've already done something unforgivable. They bumped her 2 doors down from me. At first, she kept to herself. Then she started helping the guards in small ways, passing messages, breaking up fights, earning trust. That's how it starts. Within a week, I knew she was dangerous. It wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. One morning, Casey ran up to me in the yard, pale and shaking. Riley, you need to see this. She handed me a folded napkin, smuggled from the kitchen. Inside was a scrap of paper with 4 words written in shaky ink. Tasha's out. She's talking. I stared at it until the letters blurred. Tasha had been moved to a hospital months ago. I thought she was done, broken, maybe dead. But apparently, she was alive and spilling everything she knew. Deals. Names. My name. And Laura? She wasn't a coincidence. That night, I sat on my bunk, the lights flickering overhead, my thoughts unraveling. The hum of the vents sounded too loud. My pulse too fast. I knew what happened when people like me got exposed. I'd seen it before, the sudden cell searches, the guards dragging you out at 3 a.m., the paperwork stamped transfer, and then nothing. You disappeared. Joe came by, leaning against the doorframe. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I have, I said. She sighed, sat down beside me. You can't fight what you can't see, Riley. If she's talking, you've got 2 options, silence her or disappear first. I looked at her. And go where? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The next few days felt like living inside a ticking clock. Every sound was a warning. Every door slam felt like the start of the end. Then Amber came to me, eyes red, trembling. Riley, they're coming for you. I heard Laura talking to the lieutenant. She said you're running everything in South Block, that you had Tasha attacked. My heart went cold. How do you know? She was in the laundry room. I was cleaning. They didn't see me. Why are you telling me this? Amber swallowed hard. Because I owe you. And because I can't live like this anymore. That night, I made a decision. If I was going down, I wasn't going alone. I sent Casey to distract the guards during shift change. Joe stood lookout near the corridor. Amber unlocked the door to the records room, an old office we used for meetings. That's where Laura stored her notes. I found the file easily, my name, written across the top. Pages of reports, names of inmates, dates, lists of trades and bribes. Everything she'd gathered in less than a month. It wasn't just my operation she was exposing, it was the entire system. The guards she'd been feeding were just pawns. The real plan was bigger. I heard the door creak behind me. Looking for something? Her voice was calm, almost amused. Laura stood there in the dark, arms crossed. No fear. Just certainty. You set me up, I said. No, she replied. You set yourself up. I just told them where to look. I took a step closer. You don't understand what you're walking into. These people. Oh, I understand perfectly, she interrupted. Tasha told me everything. About you. About how you took her place. About what you did in the showers that night. My stomach twisted. She said you'd rather kill than lose control, Laura said softly. I believe her. I lunged before she finished the sentence. Instinct. Rage. We hit the floor hard. Papers scattered, the sound echoing like gunfire. She fought back, stronger than I expected, caught me across the face. I tasted blood, grabbed her wrist, twisted until I felt bone shift. Stop, she hissed. You're just proving her right. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. When the guards burst in, we were both bleeding. She was the one still standing. They threw me in solitary again. It's funny, you never realize how loud your own mind is until you're locked alone with it. The hum of the vent, the dripping sink, the echo of your heartbeat. Days blurred. Food trays came and went. No one spoke to me except the guard who slid the meals through the slot. On the 5th day, I got a visitor. Jo. She looked worse, thinner, sickly. They're transferring you, she said quietly. Tomorrow. Where? She shook her head. Doesn't matter. Just don't fight it. Then she leaned closer. Lara's not what she seems. She's not a rat, she's undercover. Federal. They planted her here. The air left my lungs. Everything clicked at once, the sudden transfers, the questions, the quiet interest in everyone's business. She wasn't after power. She was after proof. And she got it. When the guards came the next morning, I didn't resist. They cuffed my wrists, walked me down the corridor. South Block watched in silence. No jeers, no laughs, just eyes. As I passed Amber's cell, she whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't answer. Jo stood at the end of the hall. She gave me a small nod, the kind that said we did what we could. They loaded me into a transport van before dawn. The cold metal seat burned through my jumpsuit. The world outside the window looked gray and unreal. I thought about everything, the fights, the fires, the deals, the women who'd stood beside me and the ones I'd broken along the way. I thought about how power never really belonged to us. We just borrowed it until someone stronger came to take it back. And I thought about Tasha. Whether she was still out there somewhere, laughing. Maybe she won after all. The van stopped. The door opened. The officer said, "Step out, Vega." The air outside was sharp, winter cold. I stepped down, chains rattling around my ankles. But when I looked around, I froze. This wasn't another prison. It was the courthouse. They weren't transferring me, they were retrying me. New charges. Conspiracy. Assault. Racketeering. Everything Lara had collected. As they led me inside, I caught my reflection in a window. I barely recognized myself, gaunt, hollow-eyed, but still standing. Still breathing. That's when I realized something. They could take my title, my freedom, my name, but they couldn't take the one thing I learned in that place. Fear is power. And I wasn't afraid anymore. The judge read the charges like they were grocery items. The courtroom felt small, the fluorescent lights humming. Lara sat in the front row, clean, in civilian clothes, watching me with those same calm eyes. She didn't look satisfied. She looked tired. When the sentence came, 15 more years, I didn't flinch. The bailiff asked if I wanted to say anything before they took me away. I looked straight at Lara and said, "You'll never understand this place. But someday, it'll understand you." Back in the transport van, I closed my eyes. I could still hear Millstone in my head, the clang of metal doors, the whispers after lights out, the laughter that sounded like weeping. I wasn't the queen anymore. I wasn't anything. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Because prisons don't kill people like me. They make us stronger.